call the meeting to order. Everyone please rise. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is a continuation meeting, and you want to go right into budget, or do you want to finish out what we got and then go into budget? Finish.
Yeah, actually.
Okay. All right, we left off then with the wastewater treatment plant report. Anyone have any questions on that?
I don't have a question on that. I have a question on what was passed last month for the wastewater on that RK&K.
Oh, okay.
On it, there is the CS Davidson and others about the building that's gonna be built. And in here it has 3 different sizes for that building,
It depends on the blowers, and
but is it one building?
it is one building, yes.
But on page 2, 13, and 16, for the building is all, each page is a different size, if it's one building. It's like a 26 by 35, or a 40 by 20, or a 38 by 18
On the new building.
in here.
Right.
But should they all be, if they're talking about the building they're gonna build, shouldn't it all, everybody have the same size of building? Or kind of confused?
Well, it's going to be based on a couple different factors, but it will be one building. I mean, this is just a proposal to create the plan.
I'm just confused on why it's 3 different sizes. I guess that's my question.
They're not charging us for 3 different sizes, they're just designing it with a multitude of designs. And it's kind of like any building that you build, the blowers have to be housed in the building. They're actually moving something into the building, so there'll be an as-built design, basically.
So we'll decide later which one.
No, yeah,
Correct.
yeah, sure. Yeah, Before they build it,
Yeah, this is just
the engineering to get there. Any other questions? Code enforcement?
I have a question about first item, only because it's on my street. Brenda Tanner, her hearing was scheduled for October 13th. I assume I wasn't at a hearing because I never see her around, so I don't know if she came in for a hearing or not. Did she?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the outcome? That was one of my questions.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't think, honestly, because it could still be potential litigation, I don't think we should be discussing this in an open session.
Right, yeah, one of my neighbors asked me about it when I was walking the dog on Saturday. Okay.
We talked a couple months back about, once that these are closed, having an updated photo. And there's several that are closed with the original photo still. Not showing that it had been corrected.
Yeah, there was never any motion on that or consensus of council to do that. It was just discussed.
I don't think we need, overgrown grass. I don't think we need to get photos on overgrown grass, but probably for the, I'm not even sure you want to take your I'm not sure you want to require that we do a flyover with the drone too, because that's really the only way you could get to the one property.
Well, several of these are mostly done, majority removed. What does that mean? If it was in violation for junk or violation for weeds or whatever the violation was, seems to have to be that it would be corrected, not mostly corrected.
Where does it say mostly?
Majority of junk and debris
There's
removed.
majority on
Right,
Third
majority,
one,
not
yeah.
mostly.
number 3,
That's
Just
the only one I see.
majority of 10 and
Right, well-
11.
Because the majority of the things in violation have been removed. There might still be some items on the property, but it's not junk and debris. The majority of the junk and debris items have been removed. We deem the violation non-existent anymore and the property compliant.
Yeah, actually, I viewed that, and it really is, it is in compliance. I mean, there's not debris in the yard anymore, there's not covered up pieces of cars and stuff. So it is,
Such as like number 4, when that was turned in, there was a lot over the property that was overgrown and debris, and it's been closed. But right behind their shed is several feet high with all kinds of debris thrown in and
So
thrown
obviously,
over.
if you saw that, then you've been out checking these, so why do we need to post closed violation pictures if you're out checking them anyway?
Well, I wasn't out checking it. It was given to me by a resident that was wondering why it hadn't been completed.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, that property looks a lot better than it did when we first started sending compliance letters.
A lot better isn't in compliance.
That's your
Is there-
interpretation, but that's not our interpretation as employees and code officials of the borough. We take our direction from council as a whole, not individual council members.
I'm not asking to take my, if there's a code to follow, right?
I think what he's trying to say, don't let me put words in your mouth, but what he's trying to say is that the code is written loose enough that if you go out and you look at somebody's property and it is passable, that you don't continue, you wouldn't go to a magistrate for that situation. It's a closed complaint. If somebody still has a problem with it, they certainly should let the borough office know so that they could go back. But the borough office is considering it closed.
And we received no further compliance from anyone on that property or about that property.
But you have to go back out there and look at it. If you see that there is 3-foot-high
Right,
grass
and
growing and all kinds of debris woven in that grass, why aren't you
Because
asking?
there's not. Not from what we saw, but clearly you have information that we're not privy to, so I guess we need that.
Okay, I'll give you what was given to me. That was given to me, that's the back side behind their shed, and it's all that debris thrown in there with all that vegetation grown up, if you were out there to look at it.
Right, so how are we to get to that without going through someone's property? She lives next door and she's sending that. There's no way we can see that because you have the wetlands down there, Burkentine property, that they have vegetation that can't be that high.
There's nobody behind, there's nobody that lives behind that. It's a parking
That's what I
lot
just
back
said.
there.
Right, and there's the wetlands area that's right here. The only way you can see this is from her property. And
I don't
where
know
is
who-
there debris?
I don't,
I mean,
well, you have I don't know, it's a ladder here,
well, if
there's
we're
a
going after
screen door
that, then you're
there.
gonna have a major issue
There.
with probably about 30% of the
Well, I
properties
don't
in
know,
your
why
freedom.
don't you pass that around and
Why don't we just give it to you?
Again,
The
but it's gotta be
resident-
held in back so we can.
Have the
use it as
resident bring it to
ammo.
the office.
The resident wasn't comfortable coming to the office, is why they gave it to me.
Okay,
So
so
then
why don't we give it
I
to them?
turned the original violation in through the resident,
Okay.
is why, but
And that
Take a
resident
look.
also put fence 3/4 around their property, but I don't know how we would have seen this in the back of the property where the fence is now blocking it anyway.
You have an awful lot of people in New
Let me
Freedom
s-
that
let me
have,
see.
that could have ladders next to their garages or ladders next to their sheds. I mean, I don't know how
that's
you
an
would.
overgrown grass, that's an overgrown weeds, that's the point. I'm just saying that there's a procedure to follow, and I don't know that
There's a
mostly.
procedure to follow after there's a complaint because this council decided that code enforcement is reactive.
But that there is doing a complete job in the process and rectifying the violation and mowing some of the yard and leaving another part of the yard completely overgrown with debris. I would not call clearing out the violation.
But we're not going to get warrants to go on other people's property.
I don't know why you talk about warrants and going to court and all this other stuff.
Because that's what we do. We go to court.
But for this, that's in plain view.
Don't
That
you
is
just
a
give them
complaint
another
From the
violation
parking lot,
letter?
Burkentines parking lot
It is not
is
in plain view.
public. You don't
Actually,
have- you don't
it's a
have
private
to.
community.
And you could fly your drone over there, I guess, if you
Right,
want
but
to.
from what we observed the first time compared to what was removed by that property owner, there was no need to look back there because that was not in violation at first.
Well, it was over the whole property of junk, debris, and vegetation. So how do you, once you have a violation, at no point you're allowed to go back and check the violation? You can't walk on the property to check that they've rectified their violation?
We're putting in there that we're closing the violation. We're not just randomly saying that from our office. We're going out and looking to what we can see.
So at no point when you turn a violation are you ever allowed to step on the property to make sure the violation has been corrected?
The property maintenance code gives the code enforcement officer the ability to enter properties to look for violations, but we try to avoid that. If we're able to see it from a public access point.
You can see that from a public access point, and they were already cited for the violation.
At this point, I don't know, we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, I need a motion if we're gonna continue the discussion.
What does council think mostly done
Say
is
it.
okay? Do you want to see it right?
Sure.
Absolutely. But it's
I mean, what do you think, Brunel?
kind of a lot of junk still back there, and I would say.
How are we to know that?
Well, we know it now, I'm
Right.
just saying.
Because
So-
you
So
were
then we
out
can
there.
move forward.
My question
Instead,
is, because of that,
conversation
can we
keeps
just
going.
send them another violation letter that is basically to that point?
Right, and then we'll subpoena the property owner when it goes to court, because they're the ones that provided the picture.
Well, you have
yeah.
to do that. I
But
mean,
it's
you
not
know,
your-
it's-
It's a chain of custody, wouldn't it?
But you're out there already. You've been out there. And by saying that you don't have right to step on, they've already been violated.
I think, Erica, the problem we have here is, and again, I don't want to speak for the majority of council, you guys can certainly make a motion if you want to, but I think the motion that was made before was that we were going to be reactive, not proactive. We were not going to go looking for more and more violations. We were not going to become an HOA kind of a community.
If,
We were
That's
going
what
to,
council decided.
and that is what council decided. So
If you
unless
go
someone
back-
wants to make a motion to overturn what we said before and go and start
But this
exploring.
is part of the original violation. This is part of the original right here. It was turned in, debris and junk on the property. This is here. What is your thought for now?
It was not violated for junk and debris. The violation was unenclosed storage and overgrown grass. You need to read if you're gonna make
And
comments like that.
And they've cut the grass, and they've cleaned up the yard. yes, there's a ladder there, all of that's gonna be dead in a matter of a couple of months or a couple of weeks because of the frost. I mean, there's really, that's not cuttable with a mower because of the way that the landscaping is.
So the original violation was just for overgrown grass and vegetation, not junk on the properties.
Right.
Well, yeah.
And one,
This
you know,
portion of it
we've
has
gone
been
through that
taken
before.
care of.
One person's junk is another person's hobby or, you know.
But if I could make a comment, I went back through the videos. We talked about what you said being proactive, reactive, not proactive. That was never voted on.
That's why I said, if
We-
someone wants to make a
Just so you
motion.
know,
I
that was
understand.
never voted on, so at this point,
But it
you
was
know,
the
if it's-
consensus.
Right, and it's in the minutes.
Yeah, because if the original violation was not, didn't pertain to that, then I think you're probably right. You
Yeah.
would have to get a warrant then to go in, or you could.
Well, you don't need a warrant.
You could ask them to straighten it up, but, you know what I mean, that would be.
well, the code says we don't need a warrant. The zoning
I don't
officer
understand why
can
you
go
jumped
on
to that.
property, correct? Any property, am I right? I'm just asking a general question, yeah. Yeah.
And even at the magistrate, 2 weeks ago, magistrate made the comment that that individual does not have permission to enter that property, even though our property maintenance code says code enforcement officer does.
Oh, that would have been nice. I wish you'd report that stuff to us, please, so we know.
And is that the one we've had since May, this property maintenance code? That was that a year of adopting that?
That was
The
adopted in
IPMC?
January of 2021.
IPMC, correct? Yeah.
And there was a committee that was gonna come back and give a overview after the first year. I believe Dennis, you were on that?
Say that again, Erica?
The property maintenance code, like the committee, there was 3 of you that were going to, after 1 year, come back and give an update, a report on how that first year went. You guys supposed to have it back in
No,
May?
there was a committee originally look at it, and the decision that I remember was, because the solicitor brought it up, let's try it for a year, see how it works, and then go from there. At that point, the committee was out of it.
They were supposed to bring back a report from the minutes.
They did.
From-
Well,
They did bring back
review the report every month, so.
They brought the committee report back, and we decided that
This
we
year,
would,
in 22?
they didn't have to. There was
I'll
no
have to
motion to
look
bring
at
it
it,
back.
I believe it was.
Because the solicitor said, let's do it for a year, see how it works out, then we can make any adjustments we feel necessary. So that committee at that point was absolved from their duties, unless the president decides he wants another committee to look at that, correct?
But I do have to agree that by being reactive though, because if we're not careful, we'll start to become a dictatorship because you can, if I walked around in Freedom, I'm very sure I could find so much stuff if I really was looking for it like that you could be, oh man.
Well, Bruno, as I recall, the last conversation was exactly what you said. We didn't want to create a
We talked
situation
about
where we're
that.
all walking around New Freedom, finding this little thing out of order or that little thing, you know. I mean, people have, the one thing that he has along the side there, looks like a raised bed garden. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, you could go through an awful lot of people.
Yeah, because I think there's a danger of getting a little too.
Well, isn't it everybody's sitting up here's responsibility as a public official to uphold any ordinances that we vote on? And
I think it's the response, and again, this is only my opinion, not even the Borough Council's, nothing to do with Borough Council. It is my opinion that unless there is a complaint or a danger, that it is our business to stay out of other people's business. I mean, the homeowners bought their property. You know, if somebody lays a ladder next to a shed, and what's gonna happen? Well, there's gonna be some grass that grows up around the ladder a little bit, but that doesn't constitute necessarily a violation unless it becomes a safety hazard and somebody calls and says, this is a safety hazard, you need to go look at it. Or this is so much of an eyesore that we have to go look at it. But in general, I think it is incumbent on all of us to try to look at it with as much of an eye towards, like, if this was mom and dad and they had the ladder in their yard, would I really want to file a complaint about it? So that's kind of how I look at it. I know I'm not looking at it in the strictest sense of the law, but that is my personal opinion.
Well, do we have to make it official? Do we want to make it reactive? I don't think we need to do something like that. I mean, just let Andy and the team do their job.
Yeah, I think.
Right, if they get a complaint from either any of us or a resident, then they take care of it.
That's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a specific issue with that and if there's a specific issue with that and a resident has complained, then I guess then we can go take a look at it, but I don't see where that is a huge eyesore that needs taken care of. But again, that's just my opinion.
It was part of the original.
Sorry,
It was part of the original for the property.
that's not what the complaint says. The complaint says overgrown grass, and grass was
Well,
taken care of.
Then I'll turn this in for the resident now.
Okay.
That's not date stamped. I can't accept that.
I don't understand the difficulty and the hostility here of having a date
You don't understand,
So
It's
then
a-
if
For
you're,
it to be a
Yeah, you
legal
have to
document,
follow
it has to be date stamped, because he has certain times, he has to
Sure.
give them so much time from a certain date.
But he has to go out and see the violation, right, before a letter can go out, right?
Well, is he allowed to go on, I don't know, can you see that without going on somebody else's property?
They have the drone, and then there's a parking lot right behind it, so go out and look at the violation yourself.
Well, you check it and see what you can. If you can, you can, if you can't, you can't.
I just don't understand the reluctance to enforce.
the reluctance to enforce. How many pages are in here, and how many pages have you been provided with the last couple of months?
You've been very hostile with me, and I don't understand why you torque it up like this. I'm just asking questions about how this is handled. And I don't know that saying the majority of something and then not having an updated photo when it's complete, I don't see that's how sufficient.
Well, that's your opinion,
the
and until I take
council.
direction from council to change the report otherwise,
Okay.
it's gonna stay the way it's going
We've
to
just
be
talked for
reported.
25 minutes without a motion on the table, so
Okay.
we're moving on. Rec.
Lost it.
Everybody has a copy of the October 6th. Yeah, because they just had their meeting last week, so we are still talking about October 6th. Did anybody have any questions in the effort of keeping on schedule? We have to answer any questions. I do want to say the Veterans Day, which there was a flyer on the table that Andrew provided. They are asking if anybody's available Wednesday night for some setup time. We can reach out to Mary Ann specifically to find out what needs to be done and what time. And also for the Veterans Day event, if anybody would like to spend some time helping out, they can use some help. I would encourage everybody to reach out to Mary Ann if you're available.
Did they ask the Boy Scouts?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
yes, they did.
Okay.
They did.
So, there any other questions? Thank you.
Well, I guess this will wait for them from next Monday night's meeting. Never mind.
Yeah, because we're still
Yeah.
kind of overlapping and everything else.
I don't think there is anything for business development. EMS and fire funding, anything new, Kim?
Fire company had a very successful Halloween bingo. Thanks to all the residents that came out. I don't have a final figure, but it was very well received. They made thousands of dollars off of this, and I think this is something that will probably continue. We had plenty of help, and thanks to Tasteful Occasions, they did food and gave 25% of the proceeds back to the fire company, and we appreciate that very, very much. Other than that, the new truck is ordered, not the ladder truck, but the other one, and they're expecting delivery on that sometime
The chase
around the
vehicle.
end of December. No, that's the actual fire truck that they had to replace. That was the
Oh,
one that was
okay.
like, I don't know,
Yeah.
$400,000, $600,000, and they had the money already
Right.
for that.
I remember,
Yeah, they're not quite ready to go for the ladder truck yet. They're still looking for grants, because new grants are coming out all the time. I do forward them to the fire department, and I also usually forward stuff to Andrew, because I don't know what he gets that I get, so just in case I send it to him. I know there are many, many new grants coming down the pike. EMS, I don't know when we're gonna have another meeting. It hasn't really been scheduled for the chase truck or DCED review. Have you heard anything that?
No,
maybe
I heard
haven't?
that Tri-County was pulling out of the study.
Well,
They're dissolving.
I think they're only gonna make about 2 more weeks.
They're not gonna have a department?
Tri-Community is gone.
Are they,
Can't.
they're not merging? Who's gonna take over? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's gotten to the point where we're still, EMS especially, we're down there to that 14%, 13%. I'm very concerned at some places, I'm not gonna mention any facilities, but I'm seeing 1, 2, 3 occurrences a week for a fall, for ankles. I don't know if there's an answer, but we just can't have our EMS and paramedics out treating somebody for a twisted ankle, and nobody here to respond to a cardiac arrest, which we've had 7 last month.
You almost need a
That's why the chase truck is so
third level
important.
of care. You know, you have ALS, BLS, you almost need a help them up off the floor kind of.
And sometimes what happens is the fire department will respond to that, but 911 brings that immediately out as an EMS call. If they notice it, yeah, a couple of guys from the fire department will go do a lift assist, but we're also having a major problem with a couple of facilities, the alarms. People pull the alarm, they call, nobody answers, they go knock on the door. Oh, hi, why are you here? Well, your alarm went off. These are organizations, I'm gonna say it's the courtyards. They should have somebody on staff that can answer those calls without having to pull our EMS off duty. And I don't know where we want to go as a council, and if
are the
there's
court-
anything
are the
else we can
courtyards-
do.
Are the courtyards a,
It's Shrewsbury.
yeah, I know, is it, that's not a long-term care facility, though, that's.
Well, I don't know what it is. It kind of is apartments, but it's all elderly. A lot of them are Medicare patients, Medicaid patients even, and that's the problem too. They go over there, nothing happens, there's no bill.
Yeah.
They can't bill unless they do an assessment. So if there's nothing wrong with somebody, they're just out, and Glen Rock or Stewartstown's gonna have to cover, and God forbid, as I said before, and it's happened, Jacobus, thank God for our police department. We'll get into that in a little while, but thank God our police department are all CPR certified, and they may get there and nobody else gets there for 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's happening, they have to do CPR, and they have brought some people back from the brink. So I just think it's very important, and I'm gonna talk to Shrewsbury about it, I think at their next council meeting.
Yeah, you probably should for coordinates.
Because for the courtyards of, nobody knows here, the resident facility at, I was gonna call it the Lutheran Home, the Spirit Trust will be closing.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, they're gonna be closing, they're moving residents as they can find new facilities, which is gonna be difficult for those people that are there, but they're,
So they're
They're
not,
closing.
which part is closing?
the, what do you call it?
Constant care,
Yeah,
the apartment,
Wait,
basically.
what do you call that?
Personal care.
Yeah, the personal care.
Right.
The apartment's still gonna be open, the cottages will be open, the assisted living will be open. The other facility, they can't get staff, and the majority of the people they have now are, and I'll repeat this because EMS has the same thing, they don't pay. They only have to pay X amount, and it's not enough to cover their bills, so I hate to see it, it's been there for a long time, it's been a big asset to our community, our elderly, to keep them safe and close, you know, because these people don't want to have to run to York, Gettysburg, Hanover to visit mom. That's all I have for EMS. I'm just getting a little frustrated with.
I know, I think everybody is.
Tri-community's trying to get another ambulance in that building, but it's, and my understanding is Spring Road will be taken over
They will?
January 1st, which they're in the old southwestern region.
That just makes it more difficult for us because we're probably gonna get more
Where's that?
calls there.
Tri-community's in 7 Valleys. Right below the crazy intersection.
Infrastructure, we've already talked about the crosswalks and the RK&K proposal. Pickleball court is going to fall under the overall large Goodfellow
This feasibility study.
feasibility study.
Master site plan.
Personnel, I don't think we have anything. Public safety. For now, fiscal centennial.
I had given everybody a paper on what some of the things are that are going on. I can actually add to this that when I was talking about the 50-year booklet that covered between 73 and now, the Heritage Council is going to do that.
That's great.
And also, Andrew and I are working on the banners. We're trying to get the how we want them. And I'm not going to mention any names yet, though, but I have a couple people now that want to sponsor, so we're moving along on that one. And let's see, I haven't been able to get together with Jody Lighty at the railroad, but we're gonna get together. We just haven't been able to, she's had things happen, so have I, and we just couldn't match up.
And the goal is to have like one major thing a month for,
Yeah.
what, 4 months?
Yes.
And that'll all culminate in the parade.
Because I'll tell you, I even had people asking me about a float in the Sesquicentennial Parade. So I think that might be bigger than what we think, because it sounds like people are interested in doing that. I mean, I didn't know if I was gonna get a lot of people that wanted to or not, but when they asked me, that sort of helps me a little.
Is the parade gonna be the same as the 4th of July parade, or are they gonna be combined?
It's going to be, probably have to be further on.
Okay.
Because the reason why I was gonna do that, but I think what's gonna happen is if we try to do too much at one time, it'll be so big we won't be able to control it. Because if all these people put floats in the Sesquicentennial, I just wanna make sure we don't get so many people that we have no way to.
I get it, but I'm just wondering what it was like 50 years ago.
Oh, it was interesting.
Great then, right?
It was interesting, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, it was a huge ordeal. It was a week-long celebration. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted folks to know too that Ginny Smith was very into the Sesquicentennial and backing up Boy Scouts and a lot of other organizations in town, and I don't know that that you folks have found out she did pass away last week. Her funeral and viewing her Wednesday, I think 10 to 12 o'clock service. She was very, very involved in this community. She was 90 years old, and I know she was my dead mother when I was a Cub Scout. So she will be very well missed, and we appreciate everything she's done for this community over the years. Her and Marge Goodfellow, they're buds.
Yeah, good people.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, yeah.
And then, are you guys still talking about having the prom dance kind of thing
Yes,
in the community center?
I think I'm gonna go to the rec council again and see whether we can get together on how we wanna organize that, because I think that's a good thing to happen. I think people will like that. That'd be, especially to be in the old school building.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I think it'd be fun.
Would that be after the parade the same day or some other time?
Well, that just depends. If we can get the parade, it all depends. If that gets pretty big, it'll probably last for several hours. I mean, I don't know if I can work that into that or not. I'll talk to Mary Ann and see what she thinks too, because.
So you talk about having, what, 4 different kind of events during that month? Is that what I'm understanding?
We're
I think it's one a month. I think the incorporation is May 2nd, so there's gonna be like, what you told me before was one in May, one in June, one in July, and maybe one in August.
So maybe during one of those,
Yes,
we could have
a
a prom event.
Now, I know, there is one other thing, that this is something that I thought about after I was reading what you and Joni had sent me, the idea of a picnic, for
Yeah.
a community picnic, I think would really be a good thing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because that, I think, would bring the community to get together, and we probably almost have to have that, I guess, on the park out here. Because
Yeah.
that would because I'm sure that would be a lot of people interested in it.
Could we tie that in perhaps with rec and their concert?
Oh, yeah, it'd be perfect.
Yeah, you know what, that
I
might
think,
be.
I mean, that
If
would
they
be
had,
great.
yeah, if they had like, you were talking about a band.
Yeah, I was
from,
talking about, I
Broadbeck,
have to talk, did you hear anything, Ryan? Did Mary Ann say anything about whether they got the Broadbeck's band for the concert?
I think it was just getting things lined up and ideas lined up for next year. I don't think anything's in
Oh,
stone.
okay, I didn't know if she had mentioned, because she was going to try,
Yeah, if you had the picnic and the band playing and, yeah.
because the Broadbeck's band would be excellent to have at a community picnic.
Yeah, because I think she was talking about cutting back on the concert series, so maybe we could slide one into where we were originally gonna have.
Like a July or something.
Yeah.
Because I really think that would be something that I think people would like, especially the old timers, like us. And Andrew over there, he's becoming a member of the old timers too.
Okay, thanks for now. Council chamber audio and video improvements,
Is that on here?
it's a committee, yeah.
Okay, I did meet with a gentleman last week. I will have a, proposal tomorrow. He couldn't get it today, so I will have it for the next meeting. Plus, I have another gentleman that Nate contacted on our behalf, that I'm waiting for him to get back to me. The gentleman that I already met with, I met with him down here. He really doesn't seem to think that we're gonna have a major problem.
Is this the Best Buy guy?
No,
No, different.
no, we're not big enough for them. I think they pretty much, I can't even get an answer from them anymore. They, as a matter of fact, they said perhaps you'd be better off going with another organization. So, I did. And he really thinks that to integrate, we wanted to take a look at the laptop that you have, just to make sure. It's just a matter of running wires into two TVs over here, one facing council, one facing, which we originally had talked about, and then running the wires up and down. And I don't know, it's not my forte, but there's a,
Well, Nate in Public Works actually did the wires that are up there now, so.
and Kim Butcher. Yeah. So it's a matter of just, we've already got a way to run it. The only thing we're gonna need is an HDMI from your laptop, because I'm imagining you're gonna run the majority of it, unless that's gonna be too much during a meeting for you to. I hate to see us have to go like Shrewsbury and hire two people to do this. When he said this can all be run off of one computer, you're used to running several screens at a time in your office, so, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to tie up the borough manager with trying to, I mean, that would just be too confusing. I think.
Well, if we have a PowerPoint or something, but that, he's gonna
Oh, yeah,
utilize it
yeah.
for training. Hopefully, we can utilize it here, you know, for council training, you know, employee training, and it'll be ideal.
at
And
Shrewsbury-
it'll also
at
have
Shrewsbury Borough,
the
they
Zoom
actually-
meetings
Yeah.
capability.
Yeah, they have somebody who actually turns the camera and whatnot.
Yeah, they have two people,
Yeah.
one's
Yeah,
on
we're
the
not gonna-
soundboard and one's
Yeah,
on
we can't do
It's
that.
just, no. And you have four people, usually it's
Yeah,
Erica, myself, and one other person at Shrewsbury's Zoom meetings. And it doesn't have to be Zoom, I just call it that. We can use, what is the other one, Andrew? Teams. We can use whatever we want. It'll be
Okay, well, then
fairly,
we'll look at your-
I'm trying to get the KISS approach here, just to
Yeah.
keep it simple for us
Yeah,
stupid.
well, as long as it's fairly automated, so we don't really have to do much with it. But yeah, we'll look at the proposal.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessary. I told him, I don't think if in the future we can, I don't think it's necessary to have another camera mounted in the ceiling that zooms in on everybody. We've got a camera that shows everybody. If we have a presentation, a PowerPoint, something,
What if I'm ready for my close-up?
well, I can walk out there and
No, okay.
hit the zoom button
All
for
right, that's good.
you. So,
Um,
that's where we are with that.
All right, we'll look forward to that next month, or a bit later this month. Correspondence, this is when I think we wanted to bring up the Glen Rock letter.
Oh, is that where? Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
know where you wanted that.
This actually came in after our first meeting, but I think it still qualifies as correspondence.
Yeah, I would think it would. Did you want me to read it?
I don't
Or
think we
the
need to
bullet
read
points?
it in entirety. Yeah, you can go ahead and.
I'll hit the bullet points. Glen Rock would like to remain a full-time member, but ending their commitment on December 31st, 2023. They will not engage an extension of the IGA, and they will become an hourly customer in 2024. They will pledge to 5-year commitment, but their annual budget does not allow them to go over a cost to exceed $250,000. This year, or this past year, I think they were 320,000, so that's,
315.
or 315, plus they used their rebate to pay for part of that. So we're looking at about next year, about $100,000 out of the kitty. From them, they are looking to not be imposed any long-term exit costs, which,
Kim, their budget for 2023 would be 345, almost 346.
okay, so it's about 100,000.
Updated is 349.
Was that with the update? Because we had two different,
No, that was.
They currently pay $337.49, and proposed next year would be $349,595.
so basically what they're looking at is they want to know, what are we going to get for $250,000? And we have to decide, are we going to hold them to what the current contract is, meaning the IGA, which this letter does not
I think.
hold to. I mean, we got it on October 20th. The IGA says it must be in our hands by October 1st. So they missed it by
Again.
3 weeks.
Again, I mean, they've been talking to us for like 3 months, saying they were gonna get us this proposal. And so, I'm not sure that is, but I think Kim and Eric and I all agree that they need to follow the process in the current IGA and have a town hall meeting.
Correct.
And they need to give us a, this basically says they're withdrawing, but it's not, it doesn't use the word withdrawal, but basically
just a
they're
proposal.
ending their commitment on December 31st.
Which
So-
they
So
really,
they really need to say the
can't.
words withdrawal.
their withdrawal time at this point would be the end of 2024, according to the IGA.
And again, that would probably be negotiable. We don't want to see them go away, obviously. So, I mean, we need to at least, but yes, they do need to follow the process and have the town hall meeting and then give us a formal withdrawal with the words withdrawal in it. And then become an hourly.
Do we
Customer.
need to have a motion to take back to or do you want to let people
Well, I think-
digest this until the meeting on Monday?
I think we could probably let people digest it. Is there any other discussion? Because
Yeah,
Kim
this
and
is a
Eric and I
big-
have been
this is a
immersed
big
in this
deal.
thing for.
This is 100,000 that's going to have to be split somehow 3 ways if they get their wishes.
Does anyone have any questions about this letter or about what's going to happen in the future?
I just have one quick question. If they're not gonna be able to go more than $250,000, that sets the limit, right? And then at some point, an hourly rate is gonna be established.
Well, they're not going to stick to 250. They've actually got in here a 3% per year escalation. So it's going to go up by 3% per
But
year.
the first year will be $250,000.
First year it'll be 250.
So if there's an hourly rate established by the members,
Right.
then that's gonna be all there is. There's not gonna be any overage or underage.
Well,
They'll just get $250,000 worth of service.
my biggest concern is the way they want to do this is by having the police not do any patrol time. And mind, patrol time is like recon in the Army. You know the lay of the town, you know where the cars are parked, you know what's out there. And now instead of having that on a daily basis, that's updated on a daily basis, they're just gonna get called. They might not have been there for 3 days, and all of a sudden they're gonna get called for an incident and go into a town where they don't know all the layouts and everything necessarily. They don't know that a bad guy just came into town and parked over there or whatever. So I think it's a safety issue for the police. But yes, you're right, an hourly rate would have to be established.
And I would imagine that the chief knows how many incidents come from patrolling as opposed to a call, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You know,
As a matter of fact, I have that information here. I didn't make copies of it, but we have, I have a copy of all the incidents from every municipality for the last, well, we back it up with 3 year to come up with what we have and our PPUs are.
We
But
actually
I
have
it
our- we
all the
actually
way
have
back
the
to
incidents, yeah.
2011.
Yeah, we have 2021, 2021, 22, 3-year average of incidents.
Yeah, but I go back to, I have one that goes back to 2011.
I'm not sure
So,
what matters.
I mean, it just shows what the difference.
Well, the percentages actually have been pretty close from year to year, so.
In the current draft before you, the column K is incorrect. It's not 45.74 PPUs, it is 48.68 if you want to update that.
Which one, which number?
Column K,
Uh-huh.
45.74 is incorrect. It should be 48.68 total PPUs between the 4 municipalities. Shrewsbury Borough should be 16.21. New Freedom should be, but this is for 22, 15.72. Glen Rock should be 8.18. Stewartstown should be 8.57 for a total of 48.68.
Where'd that come
From our commission meeting on Wednesday night. Remember, it was reported it was incorrect with the question I brought up.
Yeah.
from? We've got a lot of things that have been incorrect on this. As a matter of fact, that's why our costs did change, because I caught Buck's number of incidents was incorrect. He duplicated 2 years.
I think that, we should let Glen Rock have their town hall first, because the residents may have a different opinion from what the letter from the council says. They may want to do something differently, they may not want to, they may want to do something different.
I mean, an interesting point is that it would cost every family $15 a month if they wanted to just keep the police at the current level with patrol time and everything. So I mean, that's what the tax, it would either have to be as a tax or it could be as a whatever, but I mean, that's the cost.
And that could come up in a town hall, like, okay, what would it cost us if we
Right.
wanted to, what's the cost every resident or whatever, to be able to maintain the same service we have?
Exactly.
Tony has a
And they can
question.
make that decision.
Have they said anything on what they plan on doing? Let's say their 250,000 is done by Thanksgiving, and then they have a murder or a rape or a robbery. What-
State police is
State
gonna
police.
have to take care of it.
That's the thing, and again, the citizens in Glen Rock may or may not be happy with that. I don't know, because they haven't asked the question.
They're gonna have to find a way to have someone enforce their ordinances, because our police force is not gonna enforce their ordinances if they're only purchasing hourly.
And the only other thing just to mention is, I mean, we talked about an hourly rate, and we talked about just dividing the cost, basically the hours into the budget and coming up with an hourly rate. But just of note is that doesn't include sick time, training, range time, quals. All that is a pure police officer going to a call. So that would have to be included, so there'd have to be something added to the base rate to.
Be like an overhead kind of a thing.
Yeah,
There's too many, I view it as there's too many variables, like, the not to exceed the 3%. There's
yeah,
too many open ends on some of this.
yeah. I mean, the reason, I think it's important to state that the reason is they have some infrastructure problems, and they need to come up with the money to fund the infrastructure problems. Now, we did find out there was a grant involved,
They got $1 million for Runes Hall as a grant.
so
That's,
we don't quite understand
that's a
why.
private property, that's not Glen Rock Borough.
That's
That
Say
has
that
nothing.
again?
I hope that
Oh.
whoever gave them the grant knows that, because it's been all over the
And-
paper, and they had a
That's,
big hoop-de-doo with
unless it's changed in the last maybe couple months or something, but the last, I was aware, I think,
Kristen Phillips Hill and all were
I
there.
believe that that's private property.
Who's the grant from, Mayor?
Was
Is
that
it
the
state or federal?
CED? It was the state.
I saw it, I saw it on
It was
Facebook,
a
I don't
state
remember what it
grant.
was
If
either.
it's a state grant, it can't be for private property, right?
Well, I don't know, Trail Towns, that was
Oh,
based
yeah,
on a
that's
state grant, and that went to individual businesses. But, I don't know, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just, that's not Glen Rock Borough.
And I know the borough just purchased a parking lot, the old church parking lot. They had enough money to buy that. Now, I don't know whether they're gonna pay for it out of this grant, because that's kind of a part of the runes, over there, and how much are they gonna develop and call it a park? But you're right, if that's
Yeah,
I mean, that would all come out in the town hall for sure, I would think.
Yeah, I'm sure it would.
The bottom line is, under the current IGA, under section B, there is a way to talk with non-participating municipalities about contracting for services. So this 8-point proposal here has a role in their discussion, but they've circumvented the process. They have to go back to the IGA, follow the process, so we can get to discuss this paper.
Okay.
I think that should be our recommendation, going back to the police commission. And
Do we have to make a motion now to do that?
I would entertain a motion for that, I think. That way
Yeah.
Erica and Kim could go back and say, this is what our council wants.
Go ahead, Erica, you just pretty much said it.
I make a motion that the recommendation from New Freedom Borough for Glen Rock's proposal is to direct them to go back to the IGA and follow the current process.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to go back to the police commission with a recommendation to go to Glen Rock and tell them to follow the process in current IGA. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye.
Thank you.
Banquet, that's already passed.
They
The
extended the-
deadline. Oh, they extended the deadline?
That's what's tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Any public comment? Questions? Okay.
Earlier, when you were talking about the property maintenance, would it not make more sense for people who have complaints to call the office?
Yeah, I've tried to encourage that. I mean, I know that, people walk up to me too, but it really is circumventing the process if the citizens go through us to get to the borough office. And then Andy and Wade cannot ask questions like, what's the date and time on this picture, or what are you specifically concerned about? Things like that. But yeah, it would be better if citizens called the borough office. I mean, they don't have to call in. I think you could do an anonymous call, right?
Do it online.
Yeah, you could do it online. So, I mean, there's really no reason why they can't, but.
And I have directed citizens that have approached me with situations to contact the borough office and told them that they can remain anonymous. Some aren't comfortable with that either.
Yeah, if
So
you
that's when I
remember,
will accept it, but I always direct them to the website or the phone to the office.
so folks know, because we do record this, that is a possibility. please call into the office if you have a question, a concern, a complaint. As you remember, we've had several people that said, no, if I have to give my name and address and be recorded, I'm gonna sit back down because I'm,
Well, I've even warned some people that, you know you're on tape because.
right, and that's, that's a situation where they can file a complaint and don't have to be here at a meeting unless it's a group. And even a group, I guess we could meet with privately.
Oh, sure.
Now,
We've done that.
The exception to someone complaining not being involved in the process is when they're directly observing the violation. So if it's barking dogs, if it's a pest infestation, something that they're only being able to see, they will be subpoenaed as part of, if it goes to the magistrate, if the violation is not remedied.
Unless we actually see it ourselves,
Correct.
correct?
Yes. But for,
I was thinking, can it be done anonymously online also?
yes.
Okay, I haven't gone through that. I don't know if you need like an account or email to physically do that.
No, you don't need it yet.
No, but that whole thing about, they still, at some point, they may have to be unanonymous if it goes to the magistrate court. I mean, so, because people should understand that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we try to take that away from them so they don't have to. I mean, and that's why, Wade does it and we takes the picture. That's why Andy flies his drone and, we try to do things that way rather than get people involved. So I think it's better just for neighbor relations too.
I get it, but I mean, it's just a warning. I mean, so you can complain all you want, but if you're not willing to provide testimony, then nothing's gonna happen.
In some cases, that would be true, right? Okay, that completes the meeting, and we're not gonna adjourn, we're going to go into the, finish the budget.
We finished revenues.
Where were we, expenditures?
Yeah.
Started expenditures, page 1, which is the yellow. Call that yellow. So I don't.
I just have a question. Under office, for salaries, office, as who? Is it Wade, Tara, you?
That is a portion of pretty much everybody in the office. Yeah.
Everybody is who? Wade, Tara,
Brenda,
and Brenda.
Victoria, me.
Victoria. I see it split up several times through there, so if Victoria's doing some tasks, it'll be here, but if she's doing the water bill, it goes under sewer or something, water treatment?
Correct. Everyone in the office, with the exception of Wade, is split three ways into general, water, and sewer.
I know we discussed raises for employees because of cost of living and everything else, but do we know what each individual's increase is going to be?
No, we don't discuss that here. We have a placeholder in 5% for raises, right? 5%?
That's what I
Yeah.
placed in based on council's
Does
discussion.
council have to vote on that? I
Well,
thought-
we will when we approve the budget.
Okay, we don't do that separately, individually, and under executive? Okay.
No.
The big jump in advertising for legal advertisements from 1,000 to 2,500?
That's just based on any additional advertisement that we would have to do for a project that would go out to bid, or any ordinance adoption, meeting notices. We also have to publish our annual financial audit in a paper, and that's usually somewhere between $700 and $800, unfortunately, and that's borough code requirement. And the borough code still states that everything has to be advertised in a paper of general circulation, and until the legislature removes that.
It's not even something we could control, it just has to be done.
That's dependent on if there's not a lot of ordinances that are changing or amend, that number might be a lot lower.
So that's down from 2022 though, by $1,000, right?
Yeah, that's just based on,
Based on the actuals.
right, yeah.
It's 3,200 and whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's 68. I see the big jump in education and training. There's only 1,000, but we're at 4,200, so we're doing 3,000. Is there expected special training coming, or?
No, it's not anything specific, it's just to realign, and again, a lot of these, I'll probably say it again, but a lot of these accounts, we tried to eliminate some and roll some other ones together, so that's combining some other accounts that were used in the past for education and training and other purposes. Again, it's there as a placeholder. There's nothing right now on the horizon that would make that number get to that point.
That would also be for like
Conventions.
public works for water treatment.
Well, that would be separate,
Be under
but
the
just,
water treatment, yeah.
just so council's aware too, in order for an employee to get CDL training right now, because of a new act that went into effect in February, if we hire someone that does not have a CDL, it's costing about $3,000 to go through a training course now. You used to be able to take the permit, go in, get the permit, take the exam. I think you had to wait 30 days maybe to sit, and then you had the driving portion. So at most it cost a couple $100. Now you have to have a class, and it's rather expensive. So when we're looking at hiring new employees, having somebody with a CDL is pretty attractive at this point.
Do you really think that's gonna be enough though, $3,000?
Well,
Well, he said
as
that
long as we don't
other
lose anybody.
training, yeah, the other training is spread out
Yeah,
under
it's spread out.
water and sewer and.
Okay.
this would also be, this would cover,
Conventions?
this would cover council attending any kind of meetings, webinars, trainings,
Events, okay.
conventions.
Is
that
that
goes into that.
PSAB dues
That goes under,
in that, or is it someplace else?
I think that goes in there, yes, it does.
That's in there?
Yeah.
Okay, that just sounds a little under budget, but
Under repairs and maintenance on the next page, budgeted 20,000 for buildings. So this building's gonna get its new roof before the end of this year, so it's gonna go in this year, right?
oh,
I hope we're able to make payment in this budget year, yeah, and it doesn't roll over.
So back in February, I asked for all borough buildings to be looked at and a maintenance plan to go forward. So are you saying that all borough buildings have been looked at, there's no scheduled major repairs for any building, they're looking up to par, and it shouldn't be anything out of the ordinary that we would come up against in this next year regarding the borough building?
Well, you're asking me to predict whether something's going to happen or not. I can tell you that we're looking at the buildings. That report will be in the directory and budget that'll go to council in February. At this point, there's no anticipated needed repairs that would be exorbitant in cost.
Well,
We just got the two biggest things, the
Sure.
public works building and this building.
not unforeseen, but maintenance that has been kicked down the road year after year after year. That's what I'm talking about. There's nothing known like that, that there's trusses over in the park building, are rotted but hasn't been taken. I'm talking about those sort of things that we know about.
Correct, no, not at this point.
Does that include our maintenance contracts? Because we now have maintenance contracts on most of our.
ACs and-
Well, that would be dependent on what it is, if it would be for different buildings, so if it's community center, it'd be the community center fund.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
And under fire, I guess, we had talked about it in the past, Kim had brought it up, about Rose gas reimbursement for other boroughs or townships. Is that something that we talk about and put in here? Is it something separate? Is it something you're even gonna talk about, move forward to get?
We talked about it's almost impossible to know, because, I'm sorry, because what we'd have to do is every time they make a trip out, if they go to Shrewsbury, they'd have to come in, top off, we'd have to know how many gallons they used, and say, okay, that was Shrewsbury. But they don't come in, and they may get another call right away, you know, like today. I don't know how many calls they had today. But EMS, you know, they're in several different municipalities before they come back to gas up.
But we know the general distance between us and wherever they're going. I don't think they have to come in and gas up to figure out, I mean, you had 15 calls there at a X amount of a distance from us, there's a flat fee of this.
I don't know how that works, if we could do that.
And we've always treated basically the gas as our, you know, part of our, that's what we've been saying actually for years, is that, you know, they tell us, well, you're not donating a lot, but we are. We're giving you the gas and the, you know, we gave you the building you're in, you know. Those are the things that we've done for fire and EMS, so.
I just don't know if it's still a conversation to have or it's not.
I don't know how we could do it. I mean, that's what we kind of said at the.
It would be an administrative ordeal.
You can do it by distance, I don't see a problem, like Eric was saying. You know, you could, but I don't know why you want to, so.
That gives them one more thing that they have to keep track
You'd have
of.
to keep a log of all.
They already have they know where they're going. There has to be their calls on a log of where they went. It's not something extra that they would have to do.
Well, yeah, if you're asking them to log mileage, I'll check. Maybe they already do that. I don't
I would
know.
expect they'd already be doing
Well,
it.
no, we know, you know, Stewartstown's 5 miles away. You just, you know, I mean,
It depends on the piece of equipment, unless we're gonna give them a general, this is what you're gonna pay per mile.
But,
If
but
we
it's
respond.
probably not fuel consumption as far as getting there. It's if they're there for 4 hours running the
yeah.
engine or pump, like, that's where you're gonna
That's
get
true.
the majority. So that would have to be factored into that formula. I guess the only thing to caution there is, what would you do then if Stewartstown or Shrewsbury Borough would start billing New Freedom?
New Freedom.
So then are we really,
Because they do come over to New Freedom, and Glen Rock comes to New Freedom when our ambulance or our fire department is out on first due, you know.
but I keep hearing you complain a lot that 70% of our calls aren't even for us. They're someplace else. That's what I keep hearing you
Well,
talk about
EMS,
this.
when it comes to EMS, yeah,
So
EMS,
forth.
we only about 20% on us,
not even that, yeah,
18 to 19, so.
What percent is our fire calls for us?
don't know, I don't have that. I could get it, but we don't track that as much as we do EMS. Because no matter what, we fund the fire department, okay? In addition to Shrewsbury Township funds our fire department. Shrewsbury Borough funds our EMS. Railroad funds.
And
those.
here's something else. What happens when Jacobus or Shrewsbury Borough or Maryland Line come here for a call? Are we
I'm not
gonna
saying
have
it's
to
just,
pay?
it's just a conversation that's been
Yeah,
had.
I
I
just-
don't know if it
I don't
needs
just
to go
saying,
how
anywhere.
it's-
Yeah.
Maybe it's not on the fire side, maybe I misspoke, it's supposed to be on the EMS side, that you were talking about this gas reimbursement because we're doing so much. So I don't know if there's a conversation to have or not.
EMS uses quite a bit of fuel as well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably sometimes, some months more.
Because of the trips to York and back with all the.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
They go down, they can go to St. Joe's, you know.
That's true.
yeah, but they could be picking up somebody in
Yeah.
Stewartstown and taking them to York or St. Joe's and it.
Yep.
Let me talk to the EMS chief supervisor up there, see if they have any ideas of how this may have been done elsewhere. I agree with Andy, it could come back and bite us, because then every time Shrewsbury comes over here, they may want reimbursed.
But don't complain about it anymore.
Well, I just brought it up, you know, because I saw how much fuel is, and it's, what, doubled in cost?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
On the police, the line item that was placed in there was this 708,256, and this is the updated number here of 696,134.
That is not cast in stone, because
Right.
they still have some figures that haven't come in yet.
So is it fair to let the 708 in there at this point?
Yes,
as a-
I would go high. We've always kind of erred on the high side. If we don't use it, I guess it can go back into the general fund, correct?
Well,
If you wanted to make it 705, you'd probably be okay.
yeah, it's,
It doesn't have to be, but I mean, yeah, it's not a stuff in stone thing.
Yeah, that's what, about $9,000 over what they're anticipating, so.
Yeah, it's probably fine.
so then as far as the other funding for fire and police, those are staying in there at this point?
Which other funding, you mean the 10K and 13?
So you have 10,000 for EMS training, 13,000 for the chase truck, 13,500 general donation,
We've already made the commitments,
and
yes.
then the balance of I'm sorry, not the balance, but the allocation for the truck.
Yeah.
Well, the 13.5, no, wait a minute, where's the chase, for the chase truck? The 13,000 for the chase truck, I think we based on Shrewsbury Township matching that. That's what the vote was, correct?
It was based on them getting funding from other municipalities. I believe that's what the minutes say.
Yeah, that they would match that 13,000, so.
I'm not sure match was used, but yes, it's based on them getting the balance of the funding elsewhere. And we want to give them 13K for a chase truck if they weren't buying a chase truck. So they have to come up with the funding, the balance of the funding somewhere else.
Okay, and then the donation, we talked about doing a,
I'm not understanding.
yeah, I couldn't think of what that,
Yeah. Yeah, we could,
so we'll
for the
have to,
45K.
is that done by resolution?
Yeah, you can adopt the MOU by resolution.
Or by resolution, okay, so that's something we'll put on,
When do they think they're going to order it? It'll definitely be next year, right?
yeah,
So that, the memo of understanding will give them something they can take for financing and
Yes.
show that they've got that much coming in every year.
Is-
yeah, because they're gonna have to, if they, once they have that, that'll help them with their other, financing, because they're not gonna be paying for,
Is that something council would like drafted for approval after budget? Or are we waiting till they,
well, we've already committed.
Yeah, we've already committed. I mean, I don't think we need to have a memo of understanding until they get ready to,
It has to be advertised?
no?
No.
No, that's, it's not an ordinance.
yeah, I mean, yeah, why don't you go ahead and prepare it for next meeting? We can put it in and make it effective for January next year.
It would, yeah, you can't yet.
Right.
Because they're gonna have to put a deposit down before they even order it, and it may be 2 years before they can get it built.
I know, they were talking about 18 months the last time
Yeah.
I heard.
Are they expecting these funds to be used as deposit funds?
They could,
I guess that's still a couple months down the road.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that.
I
would
can
be
ask
okay,
that at
because
my
the
next
whole-
meeting.
The whole deposit goes towards the purchase price, so I think we're.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I'm just timing wise,
Mhm.
cash flow.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. it's not gonna, they're not gonna require it for a while, so maybe we could wait until it's ordered and then give them the
Yeah.
funds then.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't be giving them the funds, we'd just be giving them the MOU so they could take that for financing. That's what Jim was talking about,
Yeah.
so that he could order it.
Right.
So I think that's fair.
Under highway maintenance, the vehicle fuel gas, it was 10,000 this year, 10,000 for '23.
Where are you?
With gas prices, the next page 3, highway maintenance for gas pickup trucks. That's adequate for what the direction fuel's going in?
Well, you can see in the next line that, we definitely missed the diesel cost.
It's up to $6 almost, yeah.
Right, yeah, and that's, well, I'm sorry, we missed the diesel cost for the 2022 budget.
Sure.
We were off on that.
A lot.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we have a pretty good handle on fuel costs right now, so it looks like we should end the year a little over 9,000. So there's about $1,000 buffer built into '23. We could make that a little higher. I can tell you now with the fuel system, we know exactly the numbers on the fuel as far as fire, ambulance, and borough usage are 100% on point. We know who uses what. So it's good that now that we have a year underneath us for those numbers, so it's really a matter, like you said, of factoring in any kind of additional inflation at that point.
Down to snow removal and equipment repair, it was 10,000 this year. 1,700 was used and proposes 10,000. What happens to the money in there that doesn't get used, like that 8, does it stay there and now you got 20 or
No.
18, does it go somewhere else?
Basically, you have to figure that money is not specifically in that fund, it's in the general fund as an umbrella,
But you can-
and it wipes out at the end of the year. So
By
what,
law, I mean,
right, so whatever,
you can't carry forward.
whatever is not used goes into the available fund balance, and then is up for use in the
Again.
future years, yep.
But we'll be
And
switching
that-
over to all electric vehicles soon, right?
Which is-
That's-
That equipment, that snow, that's just, if we do have a plow that we have to completely replace, we'll use probably 3/4 of that.
And under recreation, consultation fees and the used 11,000, who was that for?
That was for the peer-to-peer study.
DC.
10,000 of that was paid by DCNR. Another 500 came from Shrewsbury Township, so that only cost us $500 for that whole peer-to-peer study.
It says estimated total for the year 11,000. Does that mean that we're paying
It
11,000?
is reimbursed.
Okay.
Yeah, we paid,
We're getting-
we paid 11,000
Okay.
in total, but we'll reimburse 10,500.
Okay.
So that's already in the revenue part.
It is.
Okay.
Just the 10,000. And then at the bottom, community center expense, 10,000, we spent 24,000 this year. What are the expense, what's going on?
Those are just expenditures that the community center fund cannot absorb because lack of fund balance. So it's just supplemental expenses from the general fund.
Making up the difference from the lack of revenues.
So we subsidized $20,000 at the community center this last year?
That's correct. But most of those were, well, all of it was large items that was repair and maintenance of HVAC systems, of roof repairs and things, so.
Is the HVAC now fixed?
That's a loaded question. It's stated, I mean, yes, but it could,
It
I would
doesn't
say
work,
that
apparently.
10 minutes later, it stopped work.
I know we had some situations, but what did,
What is being done?
What expense or what did we do with HVAC in the past year? Because I know it was just,
Well, the entire system had to be reprogrammed. We had to replace the computer. That computer had to be reprogrammed to be able to run that script that runs the entire system, because I believe it runs in Java, and the new Windows update wouldn't allow it to run, so it had to be run through another program.
where is that computer? Is that in the room behind the kitchen?
No,
Across the hall.
across the hall.
Okay, that doesn't work. That computer doesn't work.
Well, it's brand new.
Well, the keyboard, the only letter that works is I on the
Well,
keyboard.
no one needs access to that. I mean,
Why do you know that, and why were you typing on it?
Because Kim apparently has access to
no,
it.
she doesn't. No. We
Oh, she
got-
thinks she
Well,
does,
she's
because
wrong,
she has the
because-
key to
She took
it
it.
and took me in there and
When?
during the
The bingo, people were
bingo,
freezing.
because people were absolutely freezing.
Yeah.
Because I
That was all changed.
emailed you, but
Yeah.
nobody knows how to adjust it if it's cold or hot, or I think
It runs
we
on,
need to know
it
that.
runs on a schedule. It's programmed. There's a select individuals that have access to that computer, but that's not something we need to be giving out to anybody. It can be controlled remotely through a desktop viewer.
That's my question.
But it
So
still seems it
somebody,
Run properly though. This was Halloween, so this is like one of the last.
yeah, this
week and a
was
half?
like 10 o'clock at night. I mean, it was cool outside, and the air conditioning was still running, and people were just absolutely, it must have been 62 degrees in there. And I don't know whether it gets switched over from air to heat or how it works, but with me, and I'm involved with the Lions, I'm involved with the fire company,
Well,
and
we do need.
they constantly ask, how do we turn it down? How do we turn it down?
Yeah, we need some process. I mean, we were in the community center for the Lions Club craft fair this
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah,
And I called Andy and Donnie, and Donnie ended up just shutting the breakers off to stop the, because they had the doors wide open. And the thing was running, it was all inflated.
well, I guess it almost runs all the time. I mean, there was no reason for it to have to run when we had bingo.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how the
How
whole
could this be
thing is
addressed?
set
But it
up.
seems to be we're losing a lot of money in this system that you put a lot of money in that still doesn't run right.
System that was over-engineered and over-designed when it was installed, and is nothing but a maintenance headache
Yeah.
right now.
That's kind of why I brought that up, because I know we've had situations all year with it.
Get rid of it? I don't know.
Yeah, that would cost a fortune
Yeah,
too.
exactly. It seems like, Donnie, I mean, it seems like we call Walton, they come up, it works for a while, and we're right back to issues a couple weeks down the road. And I mean, there's so many different just so much happening with that system that has to work together to function, correct? It's not a simple system, it's very complex.
Do we have to go back to them for maintenance issues, or?
I don't know that
Isn't
there's
it
many
under
people in the air
warranty?
that know.
Yeah, I don't think there's
No,
that many
there's no
people
warranty.
know the.
Even when they come out
Way
and
that's
say all this
programmed.
work they did to fix it,
Oh, but if they address the issue at the time and something else happens, there's no warranty there.
they're not addressing when they came out that it would not blow cold air
could
when it's
be-
cool and.
What I'm saying is they fix the issue at that point, there could be another issue that's causing, whether it's a circulation pump or valve or something else that happened with the programming that is askew and it's not working properly.
It is an element to us.
I guess my other question is, I mean, over the weekend, when nobody's in there, it's
It goes
on,
into unoccupied mode.
who tells it to go into unoccupied mode?
Well, it's in that based on the time schedule, and there's a button on the wall that you can override that.
On what wall?
Isn't it on the wall where the connections are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
where are the connections? I mean, if I come down someday, you can show me.
Yeah.
Okay, because if it's 60 degrees in there and people are freezing, I can
But
just turn
when you
it
hit the button and it overrides it, what's it override it to?
off.
It depends on
Off?
the script that's in
Yeah.
there.
Because it seems like there's no reason it needs to run air
Okay, so
conditioning at
so
11
it was,
o'clock
it
at
was
night.
running on Saturday, and I called you, and we had a trip, ended up tripping the breakers. Could we have just pushed the button?
I don't know if that would have solved it or not.
Yeah.
It sounds like
I
it
can't
wouldn't,
say
because
that.
if it was running, it wouldn't have been in unoccupied mode.
Yeah.
That's the way it was for the bingo. It was still 11 o'clock at night, and 10 o'clock at night. Why does it need to be air conditioning even on? I don't know, I just know it's been a
I
headache.
can only answer what I've,
Well, Kenny says he thinks he's going out
what I've experienced and what we've been trying to do to rectify the situation.
So it's not rectified, what is gonna be done to,
Again, we'll call our contractor and explain it.
It's Thursday.
But they're the
because there's
ones who
two
originally installed it.
incidences.
I believe they are.
But-
But they would have installed what was spec at the time.
Yeah.
How old is it?
That was part of the renovation
Probably
project.
like 15 years,
15?
okay, a little bit older, yeah.
What's the life expectancy on it?
No, any HVAC system's about 15 to 20 years.
So we're actually getting close
So-
to having to
I
probably
mean,
replace it.
if you had to throw a number out, like 30,000 to basically replace the brains of this,
Oh, it's-
50?
It'd be more than that because it controls,
I know it's got different rooms and levels and,
yeah.
Right,
yeah, I understand it's very complex, but, so 80,000?
Well, if we're coming up on 15 years and life expectancy is 15 to 20 years, do we need to budget something to replace it soon?
I would say we need to speak with at least Walton to get their understanding of the life expectancy of that unit. 15 to 20 years, in my understanding, is normal HVAC systems. This is far from normal.
so should we be putting money back like we did on in the other account for, you know, what do we put, 20,000
I
a
guess
year
that's
in that other
difficult
account?
when you already don't make enough on the center to begin with, even with the new leases in place.
The tasteful occasion sign their lease, or no?
My last communication with them is that they were reviewing it and they were extremely busy and hope to get back within a week or two.
Okay. Can you follow up with Walton then and see what our expected life expectancy is? Expected life expectancy. Anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And how the dumb thing works, that it's running air on a Saturday night at 2 in the morning.
And the general fund transfer to the capital reserve fund, 81,000. Is that talked about in front here, or what had to happen? It was like zero this year, and we're jumping to 81,000.
that's part of the capital reserve plan that was approved for council for vehicles and equipment.
Where are you, Eric, on that?
Page 4 in the bottom.
Page 4.
Okay.
Says vehicles.
Guys,
The vehicles and equipment.
Is that $1 million fund you were talking about? That they agreed on to put money away for? Is that what you're talking about this going into?
That's correct.
And that general obligation on a debt service, a principal for 237, what's that coming due on?
That's just your annual payment on the debt service. So that's the 2022 general obligation note. You'll see that in the general water and sewer funds. And that increase is based on a full year of payments and an increasing debt service schedule. So that refinanced the 2012 general obligation note, the balance left on that, and borrowed money to pay for the Franklin and Main Street water and sewer and paving project. And then those funds were used as well for the public works renovation and street projects.
Hospital major medical insurance and all that, is that broken down separately by department? I'm just looking at
Yeah.
employee benefits, so we'll find that throughout.
You will.
Okay.
Yeah. Same with the pension.
So basically, hospital major medical insurance, that's just office?
Well, but that would also be a portion of your highway and your public works employees. Yes.
Okay, that's not sewer, people
No.
with the sewer?
No.
How about, do you split that out? Like our guys sometimes do water,
Yeah.
so am I gonna find that over in water also?
Yes.
Okay.
Good in general fund?
So stationery and supplies went from 3,000 to 0. Did that get combined into something else?
Yeah, we bumped that down to 427, 210.
Okay, that was my next question, why the huge jump? Okay.
Where are you?
From 405, 210 to 427, 210. We just wanted to get that under a 427 account number. I guess the other big change here is the 735 number in 427, 450, which is your contracted services. That number for 2023 will be based on the approval that was given from council, which was the $653,321.
653.
321.
I can't find it
427, 450 under collection and
either.
disposal.
450, okay.
So it goes down.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
went down. That's a good thing.
What was that number again?
$653,321. 653,321. It went down because we put in 25% because of the unknown. Now we know. What's that?
Knowing's half the battle.
I guess. Maybe you don't want to know in this case, but.
Cartoon.
What advertising does water do?
Uh,
3,000.
That would be for any projects as well, and we split that again, so like the financial report that we have to send out and put in the paper because it contains general water sewer funds, we split that into it. And
To send out
Drawing-
water reports.
yeah, what's the advertisement, oh, the
Water quality?
water quality report?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to advertise that as
Yeah,
well.
that's right.
Drawing a blank on the name and it was.
CCR.
CCR.
Chemical supply, I've seen in other boroughs, it's shot up, I think 50,000 is enough. And 20, we used 74,000 this year, and you have 50,000 budgeted.
Yeah, I believe that will be sufficient. You know, the guys are working on some different things right now to try to get a handle on that and get things straightened out, so I believe we'll be able to hit that number.
You see right above that and below, it says office supplies, water, on 210, and then 250 is also office supplies and water. 5,000, they're both, one's 5,000, one's 5,005.
Yeah, and I know we did look at that when we were preparing the budget, and it's just basically splitting up supplies from the office here and then the office for the guys operating everything out of. So it just gets split, but I think what we should do is clean that up and define that a little better in the 448,250, and maybe reclassify that line item once we break out those expenses.
You mean office supply, talking pens, paper, envelopes?
Yeah, I mean, it could be
office-
anything from cleaning to pens and paper to certain services that,
Ink cartridges.
right. But I definitely think we need to reclassify that account. I'll break that out and have a report before we advertise.
And a few more down, professional service. We spent 22,000 this year and budgeted 0. What was professional service?
That was for the contract operator that was hired to basically handle the transition until our guys were able to get the license.
Oh, that was it, okay. York Water Service, 93,000, have to leave that there?
Unfortunately, we do.
Unless we don't pay. You never got a call? You never got a call?
Yeah, I reported at the last meeting that the call that I got was if there's no benefit to the York Water Company, they have no desire to discuss anything until the contract expires. It has to be a situation where it's a win-win, I believe are the terms that were used.
So the fact is they're losing 93,000, so there's no benefit to them.
The contract
Right,
expires.
and cutting that off limits their ability to keep growing too.
Under the water system, internet and website was budgeted 750, we spent 3,200 this year, and now we're looking to do 4,000? Don't we get some free internet out of them?
No. Our, that is split, so all of the costs associated with the website get split into that account. But as far as internet, the franchise agreement allows service for cable TV to be free, but not internet.
Why would that be? When can you fix that?
Franchise agreement, I have to check on the date. I believe that was renegotiated a couple of years. They're usually 10-year agreements.
I think it was 2 or 3
It
years
wasn't
ago.
that long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're usually 10-year agreements.
Make sure that's on our list of contracts that's in here. Get that list together.
It's
Already
prob-
two
you're probably,
pages.
yeah, you're probably not gonna get them
Wow.
to give you bandwidth for free.
I don't know why that they always, all the franchise agreements that I've ever seen, they always do cable TV instead of,
Why want the people working?
Cable TV doesn't cost them anything. It's there.
right.
Anyone watching TV?
Internet costs them money because it's bandwidth.
Capital improvements, 500,000.
That's for the, I believe that's explained in the front, that's for the South Third Street water main replacement.
Under the shared sewer expense, the equipment and machine purchase of 30,000, what's that for? this year.
There's a request.
Right. Was that the backhoe?
No,
No.
that'll come out of capital reserve.
Capital?
Yes.
Right there.
Sorry, I knew that there were a couple of different requests. The request would actually be in the next line item, so that was which was the repairs, that was the replacement of the slide gates, and then some site improvements. So 30,000 was left in there as a placeholder. I do not believe there was an allocated purchase with that.
Just having it there.
In case we would need to replace a pump at the plant or a small item. That $30,000 unfortunately not going to go too far, but it's there as a, just in case.
Good grief. Down on cleaning supplies, general maintenance supplies, $10,000. What are we cleaning? Lysol wipes, I mean, what?
I mean, we got quite a few buildings, and we've only spent $2,400 to date and expecting 4,000. So again, it's probably overinflated.
Double,
Yeah, I don't anticipate that happening.
Does it need to be 10,000 in our budget?
No.
Can we knock it to 5?
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
On page 9, when we look at the very top salaries, office, sewer, does that include John at the sewer and then people from the office, like Victoria when she works on it?
No, it does not include John, it just includes people in the office here.
Here,
So that would
we're back to
be-
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct, that would be the third that gets split. Um,
Everybody but Wade.
That's correct.
What professional service, a couple down from that? We didn't budget any, we spent 49 this year, looking at 25 for next year, professional service.
Engineering fees. We had some consultation based on a parameter that was placed in the NPDS permit that we were looking to monitor and to see how we can meet it. So we needed a little bit of help there from engineer to do some calculations.
We have an ongoing NPDES permit or?
Discharge, that's your discharge.
That's a discharge. So it falls under the same category as the permits for wetlands? Yeah, is that right?
Well, NPDS permit, yeah, but then it's branches that are
Right.
just, yeah, based on
But
the
it's
activity.
under that umbrella.
Yeah.
And the repairs for the sewer, we spent 33 this year, and we're budgeting 100,000?
Yes, and the reason that's in there is if we were to have a main collapse or we have a significant repair that's needed, it's in there to make sure that we have enough funds to do so. the hope is that it doesn't happen. But it's a good practice to have that in, especially when you're dealing with utilities that,
Aging infrastructure.
yeah.
I guess the principal's coming due on the note.
So that one's a little tricky. And I think we might have talked about this in September when we went over the summary. On the debt service, the money in the sewer fund was to refinance the 2012 portion of the general obligation note in the sewer fund, as I mentioned before. There was about $400,000, a little bit more, that was refinanced in 2021.
At a reduced interest rate.
At a reduced interest rate. At the time, there was an additional $3 million that was anticipated needing in advance of the project that Arcane K is looking at. The note was as a construction or drawdown note, so we have not touched that $3 million because there's no need to do so yet. The debt service schedule is based on some of that money being already drawn upon. We did not do that. But the debt service schedule is approved, so that $183,000 in principal is based on us taking those additional funds. We didn't do that. So what it's actually doing is paying our debt down in 2 years as compared to 10 years, which is not a bad thing, because we know we're gonna have additional debt with the upgrades needed at the treatment plant. So in theory, if you were to not touch the additional funds that were borrowed, you pay off your debt service in 2 years under this rate under this payback structure.
But we're not paying interest on money we haven't withdrawn, right?
No, right.
Right.
Yeah, there's no, at this point, that money's just out there. As soon as you draw it, you're paying interest. But
Right.
at this point, you're paying no interest.
Okay.
It's like a regular construction loan kind of a thing.
Right, right. And that's how all those, that series for 2021 was a drawdown for general water and sewer fund. We have not touched anything in sewer. We have a complete drawdown in general fund, and we have funds available in the water fund. That was the anticipation of the slider tank, but at this point, again, there's no need to touch those funds because we're still deciding, we're still researching on what needs to be done there.
Hopefully we'll dodge a bullet.
I was long-winded. Hopefully I explained it.
Yeah.
In the rec fund, the program supply for 5,000 budgeted. What is program supply?
That's just any of their supplies that they need to do anything. So that would also cover, yeah, that would also cover any of their concerts, so their payout for their bands and anything else. And, you know, they paid money for the food and things that they had there. That comes in on the revenue side, but.
I'm saying, yeah, doesn't they generate money to pay for those things?
That's correct. Yeah.
They actually did pretty good on getting donations for the concerts too, so that was good.
And the property insurance is paid by the rec? $450? Why does rec, I mean, I thought rec was strictly programs, not in charge of anything. That's what I keep hearing, but then they gotta pay for porta pots and they gotta pay for property insurance. That seems to be like a responsibility that I was told that they don't have.
That was just rolled in from previous years. Yeah, that's the way it was handled in the past. That doesn't mean it needs to continue that way.
Well, it's been made clear they're in charge of nothing except programs and things for the community, right?
Yeah, the porta pot rental would stay in because they rent additional porta pots for their events, concerts.
that for the community?
Well, but that's an expense related directly to that event. I mean, that would be, that's like.
Well, they're gonna have the Veterans Day at the community center, that's an expense, that's related to that event, but they're not paying for that,
Paying for what?
right? To have, they're not
Oh,
paying to
use of the
use
facility?
for the facility on November 10th, but there's gonna be incurred fees from that use of that program that they're putting on. I don't see how that's different than
'Cause the
they're
bor-
putting on,
The borough is donating the use for the event. The borough doesn't own porta pots, so if they need an extra porta pot because they're having a concert, the money has to be put somewhere, and this is where it's put.
I just don't know that it should be put there, because if they're not in charge of anything other than creating programs for the community, that concert was a program that they created for a community, and that, why doesn't that come out of like the general budget or the parks or some other fund? I don't understand why it comes out of them if they're not responsible for anything. They have no ownership over the parks, no nothing, just
We're
create
giving them
programs.
the money up here and then taking it back here to pay for the porta pots. It's just an account, the way the accounting works for.
Why is it being taken from them? That's what I don't understand.
Well, it's not being taken out of their, money that they earn. It's just
Not?
being,
Well,
Well, who's paying for it then?
it would be, yeah. If they're factoring any, so if we use a concert, for an example, they rented a porta pot, that would come out as an expense for that program. They bought supplies, food, water, whatever they were selling, hot dogs, hamburgers, that would come out as an expense. The banners that they got printed for the sponsors would come out as an expense. But that specifically relates to that event. So I understand what you're saying is, you're saying you don't think that those costs should be allocated to the rec fund, that should be a general fund expenditure. I think the only thing that we need to make sure that then recreation is still being responsible for an event. I mean, recreation by no means usually makes money. It's a service provided to the residents or in the
You said
surrounding
that.
community. Yeah, well, that's my opinion, but that doesn't make it right. So it would be different, I mean, you still want to make them responsible that expenses aren't way exceeding what's being brought in from them. If you start breaking these out and putting them in the general fund.
I just don't think they should be paying property insurance on a building. That's not a rec.
Is that what it's for? For
It's
the,
for the park, yeah.
the park?
For the park, why,
We can, I don't know.
yeah, I think that probably should.
Is that all we pay per year for the whole park?
That's just an allocation.
It's been divided out.
Okay, that's. Okay.
Is there other ones in Rexford? Pull out the property insurance.
I don't think they should
You're
have to
probably
pay for the
gonna pull
porta
out,
pot.
if you're gonna do that, pull out repair and maintenance. I would leave miscellaneous supplies, program supplies. Yeah, I guess I'd pull out those two.
And the programs they run at the park are for the community, so I don't know that the porta pot should be there. I mean, they're not responsible for the parks.
That's annual for the ones that are there all year long?
No. those come out of general fund. These are just for additional for their.
Oh, okay, for events.
Concerts.
What does the council think about that, them paying for porta pots at the events that they do for the community?
I'd leave the porta pots just so that they know they have money for porta pots. Because at one point, they said that they didn't think they were gonna get any additional, but I think with the attendance at some of the concerts, they do need additional.
And if they're making money, they're paying for them.
Yeah.
They have to have them there, you can't just have one.
Yeah, I can see the property insurance and repair and maintenance, because they're not placeholders for anything in particular, but I think they should realize they have the money for the porta pots. That would be my opinion on that.
Just a general observation, the total revenue for this year is estimated to end up at 36,765, and the total expense for this year, 12,768. So we always ahead of the game, I bet.
Well, that revenue includes one-time recreation fees that were paid by Berkeley team for the remainder of the
Right,
units
okay.
that they're putting.
Or any other development, yeah, okay.
Yeah, can't really budget for that every year, for additional recreation fees.
Where are the capital reserve funds on page 11, all zeros, but then 40,000 at the end? On page 11, everything's zero. Last year, this year, estimated use, everything zeros.
Because the capital reserve fund was just established this year.
So you just,
New accounts.
new account, okay.
Yeah, new fund.
Something else.
The highway aid fund expenditures, the streetlights, that's again a new created.
No, this would be, that's pulling that expenditure from the general fund
Okay.
to be paid out of highway aid going forward
Okay.
to lessen the expenditures.
That's upkeep on every year, 50,000?
That's just electric.
That's for the electric.
What was it before? Because this is going to be reflected on the new LED.
Well, we paid for it. It's a matter of, I don't think we're gonna have a full year of them all being LEDs. So 2023 will give us a kind of an idea of where that number's gonna fall for 24.
Like a level setting.
Because at this point, we paid, now they have to move it into their next process to be scheduled. And
We did already pay.
Yeah, we didn't get a bill though for all of them. We got a bill for maybe 3/4 of what we asked for. So it's just,
Was that the 11,000 additional?
yeah, that's right.
Is there a reason why it was only 3/4 and not?
It's just how it goes through their process. Because they had to break it up into sections. They had to break it up in, I think it could be no more than 50 lights in a group. So that's why it'll come through, it'll just take time.
No, I'm not saying that
It's-
it won't, I'm just trying to understand why wouldn't it just be under one PO in
I-
a sense?
I can't answer that.
Fair.
Maybe because they divide the area up into pole numbers and it's.
No, we had to send, like I said, we had to send blocks of 50 that you wanted replaced.
How many was it total? I don't remember.
100 and, I want to say 150, but that doesn't, is that about right?
Yeah, close to that.
Okay, I thought it was around 150 lights. Yeah.
So that's underway now, right? Or is it going to be underway?
I'm sorry?
We paid for about 3/4, so as soon as MedEd starts, they'll be in contact with us to start installing.
So we got the supplies, okay. I got you.
Yeah, that was for them to order supplies,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Under community center, it says alarm monitoring. Who monitors the alarm? There's an alarm on the building?
Fire alarm.
Or fire alarm? And what is that 1,700 covering?
That's the alarm, fire alarm monitoring.
Is it a company?
Yeah.
Like safe, whatever?
Is that CIA?
It's like
No,
an-
that's not.
It's like an ADT company.
It's not
Okay.
CIA.
I can't remember.
I was saying,
Are they responsible for the upkeep and maintenance, or is that us, and this is just our monthly subscription?
well, this would be a monitor, this includes monitoring and any, if they come out for a service call.
Because didn't we have a problem with that a couple months ago?
We were having issues with the
Kept going on.
sensors.
Yeah, okay.
It says cleaning service. Who is the cleaning service?
We had an individual, that individual quit, and we hired a new individual. She'll be cleaning every week.
What is it a company?
No, it's an individual.
A person, so you hired a person. Is this person bonded?
They do have insurance.
That same
What type of
person clean
insurance?
here,
No,
too? Oh,
No.
we have two separate
What
ones.
do you mean, has insurance,
has a commercial policy insurance.
For that community center, is there any place inside that community center where that person does not clean? Or
All
is
the
it
lease spaces.
only the least, cleans only the
So
least spaces?
they're responsible for the entrances, they're responsible for the auditorium, hallways, the steps, the bathrooms. They will also be doing a dusting and just a general upkeep of the Lions Room. The senior center does a fairly good job of maintaining that. And the Lions Room along with the kitchen, I should say, the senior center. So,
Upstairs kitchen,
yes, sorry.
Lions room / upstairs kitchen.
And that's what, weekly?
It is weekly.
I got a question. What do we do in between? She cleans, what, the same day every week?
Yes,
What was it?
What day of the week?
Thursday.
Thursdays?
Okay, Thursday. So somebody's up there in the auditorium over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and the bathrooms are a mess the rest of the week until she gets there again on Thursday?
Well, those are supposed to be inspected now. Starting first of the year, they wouldn't get their cleaning
But who,
deposit back.
but who cleans them? If I rent that, am I responsible to clean the bathrooms?
No.
Well, yeah, I mean.
I'm just asking
I mean,
because
when, we cleaned them
I
whenever.
clean bathrooms.
Right,
I know
so-
we did after the bingo, the fire company went in and we mopped, but,
Yeah,
but people do know that they're
Yes, yeah, it's in the
responsible?
lease.
We will be working to create a space, and Donnie had this idea too, to create a space that when people rent the building, they're able to get to cleaning supplies. Not all of the cleaning supplies, otherwise they would get legs and walk off, but.
Mop bucket and Lysol or something.
Who cleans it if they don't?
If they don't, our public works employees have been going up and cleaning it in the interim between when we were able to get a cleaning person.
So somebody will be going up and inspecting after events.
Who's,
Yeah, I mean, we can go with more than once a week, but
I'm just really thinking about bathrooms.
Yeah, I think we should wait and see.
Lord knows,
see what
you know-
happens
you
with
know
the
how
new
men's
lease and the
rooms-
inspection process. I mean, if we find that we need it in
I can tell you, I was there on
January,
Saturday and Sunday the ladies' room was disgusting.
Oh, usually it's the men's room,
Whose responsibility is it to check that it's been cleaned? It has to
I guess
be
the
just a person.
The difficulty though in renting a space is you're renting the room. I guess in theory, you're renting the use of that bathroom as well, but I think if we're fully expecting that someone renting the building needs to, before leaving, clean those bathrooms as well, then we need to make sure that that's a little bit more defined and clear in the contract, and that they have the ability.
well, it says it in the contract now.
But
I've
I've rented it numerous times. I have a problem that I've paid the money to rent it, and then I have to go in and clean toilets before I go home.
Well, not only that, but, well, especially the first time we rented it, we had to go in and clean toilets before our event, because they were a mess before the event. And then we had to clean them again whenever we left.
Which
And the
goes
Lions
back
Club
to
should have
food.
cleaned the bathrooms before they left, so that Sunday, when Hope was in there,
but this past week,
yeah,
Somebody
Yeah, you're
needs to be
right.
responsible to check that community center daily. Whose responsibility is that?
What are we checking daily?
Well, you know, the pickleballers are in there, the Lions Club goes in there, all these agencies within the borough go in there, plus it's rented, so seems to be that people are renting it and they're having to clean it before they can even use it, so there seems to be an issue there that it's not being checked regularly. And just having somebody come in on Thursdays to clean it, you've got 6 other days, what's going on, nobody knows. So somebody needs to go in there every day. Is it somebody from this office? Is it somebody from Public Works? So that needs to be an accountability where you rented it, it wasn't clean. Oh, well, this person checks it every day, so this is the person that has the accountability to make sure that it's clean. Right now, you have no accountability for anybody, and everybody's keeps saying they don't know.
I would think if the VFW rents the community center and we don't charge them a cleaning deposit, we give it to them for free because they're nonprofit, other nonprofits do the same thing. If we go in there and the bathrooms are all filthy the next day, then the next time the VFW came and asked for the event, we would get a cleaning deposit.
Well, they should be,
Because,
even though if they get it rented for free, given to them, they need to know that they need to leave it
right,
clean.
well, that's what I'm saying. And
But
if
they need to be
don't,
told that.
Then, if they don't, then the next
Sure.
time we give it to them, then we get a $200 cleaning deposit so that we can take care of it.
Maybe it should be across the board, even if it's free. And then you get that cleaning deposit back once it's
It is.
checked.
It is.
But see, I think if you're renting it for what we charge to rent that building, I don't think we should have to clean toilets.
Absolutely not.
especially,
I agree with you.
especially on the weekends, I mean,
But
that's
I'm just saying,
expensive. What is that,
At the end of
600?
the event, I don't think I should have to clean the toilets, but I don't know how council
No, I don't agree with that part.
can.
Wait,
If you have,
my
if you have your
co-op.
renters that are up there during the daytime, what says that they aren't gonna go in there and mess something up? You go inspect it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you have somebody renting it at 5 o'clock, and those people that are already there decide to go and do something in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So how do you, I mean, you'd have to have like, put cameras in the bathroom and watch who does what.
That could be a problem.
I mean,
Hang on, good.
I don't know what you do.
I mean, I don't have a problem with like room sweeping the bathroom, but I have a problem cleaning toilets when I spend couple $100.
You shouldn't be having to clean toilets. You pick up the paper towels that fell on the floor and whatever else, that's
Right.
what I'm talking about. My homeschool co-op rents a place once a week to have 100+ children homeschool. In that facility, we are expected to check those bathrooms before we leave. We check all the classrooms that we were in, all the areas that we were in that facility, we check. And we walk through the bathroom and pick up the paper towels or whatever's on the floor. We're not scrubbing toilets, but we have to put eyes on it, any area we were in that building.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, you're looking at Tasteful Occasions, it's in there 24 hours, some of those are in there 24 hours a day, depending on what they're doing. So what's to say at nighttime, they'll go in there and mess up the bathroom or something, how do you have events the next morning? You see what I'm saying? How do you manage that?
That's our question. How do we manage it?
Like I said, Saturday, the Lions Club had their craft fair there, and Sunday, Hope had a bingo. The bathrooms were terrible when I got there on Sunday.
Before it is scheduled to be rented, if it's gonna be rented at noon on Tuesday or whatever, who's ever in charge of making sure that that place is up to code daily should go before the event goes there to make sure it's clean. And then after it's clean.
Was that person gonna do the cleaning or just before that?
Well, that's up to, I guess, the office side, who's gonna clean it? If it's dirty, who's gonna clean it?
We had talked about that before. I mean, okay, VFW was there on Sunday. Did you have an actual contract that said, we're renting this, but we're not paying anything?
No, the VFW wasn't there on Sunday. I was avoiding using the Lions Club. The Lions Club was there on
They were there,
Saturday,
they deserved
and
to.
the bathrooms were trashed.
Okay.
And then Hope went in there on
Hope,
Sunday.
okay, Hope was.
And at
I
that
didn't
time,
notice
the
that.
bathrooms were a mess, so they had to clean them before they had their event.
Okay, my kind of proposal is, even though we're giving, if we're giving it to them to
They
use,
still have to sign a contract.
okay, they do.
They signed the contract, but there's no cleaning deposit, right?
But maybe that's where we are going
Yeah, I
wrong.
think
Maybe we
there should
need
be
to
a
do
cleaning
that.
deposit, then they get
It's
it back.
$200 cleaning deposit,
Right.
even if it's free.
Right.
But like
And then-
Erica is
Okay.
saying, you pay the cleaning deposit, but who's responsible for cleaning it if,
Well,
Sounds like
there
it-
falls back to the person that's unlocking the building and locking it back up, shouldn't they be looking at it?
Well, it's Tasteful Occasions right now, right?
Yeah, who's it
Well,
gonna
until
be
the first
January
and
first?
third.
Well, so far, Tasteful Occasions apparently isn't doing a good job because the bathrooms were a mess. Nobody's saying anything.
But
That's
she
what I told
says
you.
that's not, she told us that's not their responsibility.
Absolutely. Kim said that to our face.
well, when it was rented for my birthday, she called us to tell us that it was not, the bathrooms were not clean enough afterwards.
Yeah,
So she took it upon herself that it was her responsibility to call us.
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, and she
And-
told
and-
us.
And
that,
what I
this is
told her at the
open
time
place.
was, we had to clean them up before we used them, so
And I
we were
swept
done.
them out.
Public Works, somebody in Public Works?
Yeah, I think it almost has to be.
On a weekend? I mean, if you have something on a Saturday and a Sunday.
That's part of the job.
I mean,
Well,
keep
they
in-
don't-
keep
they
in-
don't
keep
want
in
to.
mind,
How do they get in there?
if you have someone from Public Works do it, you're gonna pay them travel time and whatever, you're
When
gonna pay
somebody-
2 hours
when
of
somebody
of
rents it.
weekend overtime for,
Somebody rents it on a Saturday, how are they getting in there? Should be locked, right?
That's a good question. How do they get in there?
how does
A
the Lions-
Saturday
how did
morning
the Lions
is-
Club get in?
Saturday morning at 6:30, they called me because they didn't know how to get in.
No, somebody has rented it for a private function on a Saturday at 10. How do they get in there? And how is it locked?
Right
It's gonna be
now, it's
different
up
in
to Tasteful
January.
Occasions,
Not
correct?
right now, how is it done?
The scheduling is done with Tasteful Occasions. They have access to the calendar for rentals. They're emailed every time we take a rental to remind them of date and time, and then they are able to monitor that and open and close based on that calendar. This is why you will see an access proposal, hopefully at the meeting on next Monday.
Well, 2 weeks ago, I went by in the evening. I messaged Kim that the door was unlocked.
I went up and locked.
He went up and locked it. At the rec commission meeting, it was reported by the head of the pickleball, Rick. It's regularly unlocked. I said, when was the last time? This was on a Thursday meeting. It was Tuesday of last week. Very concerning that it's being unlocked, You know, it's just, again, no accountability for,
I don't know. If I'm out for a meeting, I always drive by and check it. Matter of fact, I scared the new cleaning lady because the lights were on and I didn't know she was there. And I thought, wait a minute, there's nobody here. And I walked in and she had headphones on listening to music, and there I kind of snuck up on her.
Was there a possibility the new cleaning lady could do the cleaning as needed? If we need to clean a bathroom or
Well,
whatever?
she runs a business, right? So she can't just,
I mean, possibly another day a week, maybe if we wanted,
that doesn't solve the problem.
the big problem,
Well,
I think, is
if
weekends
you're
when
saying that
we're
they don't
using
have to
Friday,
clean
Saturday,
bathrooms, when
Sunday.
we have rentals.
No,
how else does
no,
it get
yeah, I don't
resolved?
think we're saying that. I think we're saying that, I mean, even if she does twice a week, if somebody has, you know, if she does Mondays and Thursdays, and someone rents it Friday, leaves it trashed for Saturday, having
Yeah,
a clean
we're
lady
still-
2 days a week doesn't do anything for you.
That's where it comes to have eyes on it when somebody's gonna go in there before and after. Because you gotta let them in and you gotta let them out.
Sounds like you're gonna have to hire a rental agent.
Yeah, I mean, this is.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, this is why we wanted to go with access control, so the building, we don't have to go through this with the building being unlocked. When we have a renter, we can give them a card. It's valid on Saturday from 8 AM to 8 PM, and the card deactivates after that. It's returned to the borough office for a deposit fee. All the clubs, we get rid of all these keys that are out there that everybody has access to the building, which has gotta stop.
And you can look online and see if the door is unlocked.
Which sends an alarm if the door is open
Yeah.
for so long, or if it's
You know, the
unlocked.
borough was
But that
lucky
still
years
doesn't
ago,
answer
they
the
had
question of
time
cleaning.
I know, but well, we got off.
Outside there.
I propose to have a camera in the auditorium.
15, 20 years.
You know who's coming in there.
Don't have to worry about it.
You know who was the last one out that didn't lock the door.
Just because it-
We had a vagrant that was living in the parking lot, and he was going in there and
Yep.
washing up and using the bathroom.
And that explains why the bathrooms were there.
Well, I had the police go up and tell him, no, you can't be here and sleep in your car. Because they caught him while they were playing pickleball. He was sneaking in and using the bathroom.
But if it's going to be like during the week, why can't it be that Public Works is one of their checklists in the morning to check the community center? And either check it in the evening, but like if there's gonna be a renter there, you know, during the week, it's checked before they leave, and then the next morning, they go and they check it after that person has rented it to see that they cleaned it. I mean, it sounds like we're just arbitrarily giving back security deposits and we don't even know if it's cleaned or not, because obviously it sounds like it's not being cleaned. So it's just automatic, you get it back.
Well, that sounds to me like the people that rent it during the daytime, if it was clean in the morning and now it's dirty in the afternoon, it's the people that rent it during the daytime.
Correct.
Well, I know pickleball, when they go in, usually Rich mops the whole place.
Majority of the time, he says it's filthy.
I'm sorry. but I don't
Especially,
believe
well,
it.
after the weekend,
And,
after the weekends.
and Kim was saying that she doesn't clean, the person that cleans prior, I guess Crystal, only cleaned in there, what, she'd say every 2-3 months, she would go in the auditorium, that it wasn't up yet.
I don't believe that either. I mean, it's just,
I mean, this bathroom's already gets cleaned so much, I mean, that tile's from 1970, it's only gonna get so clean.
Well, I'm talking about like paper. I mean, if there's toilet paper on the floor in the stalls, and, you know, that
That's what I'm
needs to stop, yeah.
Well,
I mean, I realize that somebody could go in with muddy shoes or something like that, but even at that, if I had mud on my feet and I went to the Hope Bingo, somebody should have cleaned that up.
I mean, you have a band there, a party, they've got beer, you're gonna go in there, and that floor's gonna be a mess. There's gonna be urine, there's gonna be this, the
We're talking in
overflowing.
bathrooms.
Yeah, bathroom, well,
Just
maybe, Otherwise, it's a parking lot or out in the woods, but, yeah, I mean, it's something, I'd hate to be the person that go in the next day and have an affair, and this is what I don't know what the answer is, it's just,
What is this new person's name? Do we have a name so we can,
I don't
it's gonna
remember.
be on the treasurer's report
I introduced
anyway. What-
myself.
Allison,
Allison,
Allison.
how many hours a week are we paying Allison on
we're
Thursdays?
paying her a flat rate of $150 a week.
Okay. 150. So if we take her 2 hours for 150, or if we take her 4 hours
She
for
said the
150?
first cleaning took her 4.5 hours.
I believe that.
She charged $150. She felt that she can get it down after a few weeks and get it down to possibly about 2 hours. But she needs to get caught first. Because there was a period of time that we did public works and went up and cleaned a few times in the interim, and the senior center said how nice it was that they came up. I just got that email earlier today, so.
Well, I think we've gotta come up with something by
Yes.
January 1st.
Yeah.
Why don't you just do like a schedule for a couple of weeks and let us just check in the morning, check in the afternoon, and see what the bathrooms look like, and see if we can figure out what the problem is.
Well, the bath's in the auditorium area.
Yeah, that's
Is there
what I
stuff
mean.
on the ground? Is the
Yeah,
trash
we
cans
know who's
overflowing?
there each day, who's there every night, and keep an eye on the calendar and see who's all there, and then find out where the bathroom problem is.
Yeah, because the senior center
Because
takes
you're-
care of the one upstairs,
Because if you
correct?
got the renters coming in and paying the fee for that, then okay. If you know that bathroom was clean before they came in, then that's where your security deposit should be kept, if the bathrooms are dirty afterwards. Otherwise, you have people in there every day, and then, of course, now you have the Cub Scouts in there at night, or the Lions Club are there, but then the next morning you come in, you see what the bathrooms look like. You just go from there, and see where the problem
I
is.
think Johnny just offered you all a solution.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Andy sighed next to me here because they actually found adult, like Depends in the bathroom on the floor, full,
That's surprised.
you know, so.
People
Yeah,
are,
we'll watch it for a
Been
while,
homeless
and
man
keep a
camped out in
log
there
on
'cause
what's
the doors
going on,
unlocked.
and see what happens. Yeah,
All right, well, why don't we do that?
okay.
Discussion. Who pays for the water and sewer at the community center? The usage.
It's not billed.
It's not billed at all?
what, included in the rent? Is that the way we look at it?
What would it cost if we went with the key card system?
We should have a proposal Monday.
Isn't that the one you
Well,
thought was
actually-
20,000?
That was just a
Yes.
off the cuff guess. I don't, it could be more.
Maybe it could be less. Less would be good.
Could we put that on the agenda for Monday then?
It will be. As
So
long as
this
I have
discussion
it
goes to
before
that.
Wednesday.
And
Yes.
can you also make sure that the audio visual for in here is on the agenda too? If you miss it.
So you, yeah. that'd be on the committees.
Okay, I found the problem.
The two items that took the longest tonight relate to that building.
Yeah,
What do the leases pay for? Electric, gas?
square footage.
Yeah, I mean, basically it goes
Gas
in,
to square foot.
yeah, it goes into the revenue.
There's no property insurance figured in their lease, there's no maintenance figured in their lease. The use of it?
Well, if you're figuring a price per square foot, that would include that.
I was just, you know, I mean, at least the revenue's at 61 and the expenses are at 55. So it's a good goal for next year. You were gonna talk a little bit about the taxes and the fact that we're like $400 out of the taxes, and is that in here somewhere?
Yeah, well, a little bit, I mean, in the next couple of sheets, you have the charts, historical charts, and those obviously will continue to grow each year as we are able to gather more data and how that we're able to export that information from QuickBooks. But then you do have some appendices there. You have real estate tax analysis. We kind of looked at this before. Boroughs of York County, the tax rate comparison. So you're looking at all 36 boroughs in York County, population estimate, median household income, where the rate has gone to over the last 6 years, and just a breakdown in the averages of where everybody falls. Additionally in that, the sheet that you have in front of you tonight breaks out since 2006, the school, county, municipal tax rate for residents in New Freedom Borough.
What appendix are you?
No, I'm not, this is the one that was provided tonight. This is the
Oh,
sheet
oh,
that's in
oh, I'm
front of
sorry.
you. Just a little graph.
Gotcha.
So what I did here is I just went to York County's website and pulled the millage rates since 2006. So you can see where they've come in the last basically 15 years. In 2022, the average assessed property is just above 205,000. And the way we get that number is we take the taxable parcels divided by the assessed taxable value, or the assessed taxable value divided by the number of parcels. So on average, the average property is paying over $4,000 in school tax, about $1,400 in county tax, and together with the municipal general, municipal fire, paying about $437 in municipal tax.
And for that, I think, kudos to Public Works and, I mean, I think the citizens of New Freedom get a lot for $437 a year.
Right, because of that 437, you need to take out the fire tax, which goes directly to the fire company. So that leaves you with about $380. 40% of that goes to the police department for contracted services. So there's additional funds obviously in there for fire and EMS. So really when you're looking at a general cost per parcel, you're looking somewhere around $120, $130 per year. Rough estimate. Obviously, it depends on the assessment.
I just thought it was amazing that, that the services people get for that amount of money.
Does anyone have questions on anything in the appendices?
I think I said it before, but I hear that, but out of the 67 counties in York, 67 counties in PA, York is number 9 in the highest taxes. So, on that one sheet it shows we're, lower than a lot of others, but still, we're ranked number
You're saying
9.
New Freedom is number 9?
York County in the state of Pennsylvania, out of 67 counties,
Oh,
the
York
9th
County.
highest.
Yeah, but you can't do anything about your county tax.
We're in pretty good shape with the county with the rest of the boroughs.
Yeah.
But in the last 11 years, we've risen 129% in our millage rate.
New
I
Freedom
don't think
has,
That's
or York County?
$130.
County tax.
Well,
figure it out
But then you
on a
look
per
at-
week basis, and
Shrewsbury's 25%, Glen Rock's 27%, you know.
25%.
Stewartstown is 0, risen in the last 11 years.
Right, but like Stewartstown is at 2.85. Shrewsbury's at 2.12, so you can't use a percentage when your percentage was 0.66 compared to 1.85.
the bottom line is, I'm paying $130 a year for everything that New Freedom Borough gives me over and above utilities, basically. So leaf pickup,
Well, depending on your assessed value.
right,
But
but
they
well,
have-
it's on an average, it's 130, yeah, okay, some
Was there
people
supposed to be
pay
leaf
more.
pickup today, mention that?
Sorry?
Was it supposed to be today, leaf pickup Mondays, or?
Well, they start
Start.
Mondays,
Oh.
but they go through the whole week.
Okay.
They didn't pick up at all last week, or they just did one?
We did the whole, we did the whole
west?
town, we did the whole town last week, we were out today.
They do Constitution.
They did part
No,
of
we
it.
did Constitution, we did.
Does anyone have any other questions
First
on
thing
budget?
Monday morning they went through.
Do we, at our next meeting,
Monday.
make a motion to advertise then, or we still have something?
Unless, well, what I
we
would
got
do
some
is,
changes.
yeah, I would make the changes.
Right.
And
And place, or whatever, take money out of rec.
what I would do then, if it's okay with council's approval, is you would get this sheet, the summary sheet for the November council meeting next week. And then you would review that. This would reflect any of the changes that we discussed at the meeting on the 17th plus tonight. And then you would authorize advertisement of the budget. And if you're in, we didn't really talk about increasing the millage from 1.85 to 2.0. That would require an ordinance, so you'd advertise the budget and the tax ordinance. You have to authorize advertisement of that so that your public inspection period begins 10 days before your December meeting.
Okay. So we can bring that Monday, can we have time?
Oh, yeah, it's, yeah.
Well, we almost have to, if it's gonna be.
Unless you would,
Pretty much.
yeah, you'd have to hold another meeting.
Right.
But, no,
We'll probably end up doing it anyway.
We hold 2 meetings a month
I
anyway.
don't,
We can't have 3 meetings in a month, these have to be scheduled better.
Or they just need to get done in one meeting.
Yeah. I mean, tonight would have been an extra hour, less than an hour without this, so after this goes away, we have to, you know, it's unfair to everybody behind this desk, it's unfair to the citizens to ask them to come out twice a month. I could have been home with my family tonight. It needs to be done in one meeting.
So there was a recommendation made that we have a consent thing like we did 2 years ago.
That's my recommendation, I think we could do.
We could put that on
a
the
lot,
agenda or something.
Going through and coming up with things that could just be done by consent. I mean, I've tried to encourage people, if you have a question about the treasurer's report, that can be discussed as I do with Andy before the meeting, or if somebody, you know, you can make a list of questions and submit them before the meeting. We don't need to spend 30 minutes on checks that have already been written and paid in cash. So,
There's a level of transparency. If I have questions, others could have questions, and that's something, the people's money should be held out in an open business, not behind closed doors. That's my view.
Well, you still have an
You-
opportunity to ask about it.
oh, sure, and if you got
Even if
answers,
it's,
if you got answers to your
consent
questions,
agenda.
it's not saying that you can't bring it up. You could say, on item number, line item number, whatever, I asked Andy about what the cost was for that, and he told me this. It would just go a lot quicker if,
True,
you
but
could still discuss it.
other
It
things
doesn't-
will generally come out of the discussion also, so that would be pertinent and important, and to have to, have transparency is the most important.
I agree 100%. would entertain a motion.
I move it here.